Welcome to Literary Journeys with River. Today we dive into A Court of Silver Flames, the fourth book in the ACOTAR Saga, a tale of rage, healing, and self-discovery. This time, Nesta Archeron must confront her trauma, her power, and the warrior who refuses to let her fall. Remember, this is just a summary, not the full book. If you enjoy stories of empowerment, love, and redemption, subscribe and hit the bell icon so you won't miss the next illustrated summaries. And tell us where you're watching from. Your comments help YouTube recommend the channel. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Cassian arrives at Nesta's door in the deteriorated dwelling where she insists on staying. Despite his discomfort, he knows Fair sent him to retrieve her and take her to the new house by the river. When Nesta finally opens the door, she looks haggard, her hostile attitude and coldness evident. Cassian observes the decay of her home and detects the stench of a lover still trying to sneak away. Despite her defiant attitude, Nesta agrees to Fair's request, although her gaze reveals a contained fire of anger. Cassian, aware of the dark power Nesta may still possess from the cauldron, remains on guard, remembering that she has never shown signs of losing her dangerous gift. After securing Nesta's visit, Cassian leaves to prepare for what lies ahead the next day, knowing that something big is coming. Chapter 2. Nesta is taken to the new mansion of Fair and Rhys, where she faces a family judgment. Fair informs her that she will live in the House of Wind, where she will train with Cassian at the Wind's Refuge in the mornings and work in the underground library in the afternoons. Cassian senses the anger and desperation in Nesta when she learns that her apartment is being dismantled and that she has no other choice. Amren, once close to Nesta, makes it clear that her membership in the Night Court still obliges her to obey the court's laws. Although Nesta tries to challenge the decision, Fair stands firm, revealing that even Ellen has accepted the new situation. With no options and resentment burning in her eyes, Nesta finally reluctantly accepts the imposed fate, knowing that her life is about to change drastically. Chapter 3. Cassian meets with Rhys in his study, where they discuss Nesta's situation. Rhys, concerned about the latent power Nesta may still possess, assigns Cassian the responsibility of training her and monitoring any signs of that danger. Cassian, though aware that the task will be a challenge, accepts the mission knowing that Fair is suffering as she watches her sister lost in pain and self-destruction. Rhys also reveals that he suspects the human queens are conspiring again and tasks Cassian with investigating the situation alongside more. Cassian understands that Nesta's fate is linked to the balance of power in Prythian, and that his mission is not only to train her but also to prevent the dark power Nesta took from the cauldron from awakening and causing chaos. As he prepares to face this task, Cassian knows that the path with Nesta will be a battle in every sense. Chapter 4. Cassian and Moore take Nesta to the House of Wind, where she will face a new beginning. As they arrive, Nesta remembers the weeks she spent there after being transformed by the cauldron, trapped in her pain and watching over Ellen. Cassian tries to ease the tension with his characteristic humor, but Nesta remains cold and distant. Upon entering her old room, memories overwhelm her, but she refuses to let them dominate her. Cassian, aware of Nesta's hidden pain, gives her space to rest, knowing that training will begin the next day. As Nesta gazes at the city from the window, she feels the weight of her guilt and pain, recognizing that home is still an alien concept to her. Alone in the darkness, her mind travels to memories of her mother and her internal struggle with the whirlwind of power still burning in her veins. Chapter 5. Nesta and Cassian share an uncomfortable breakfast at the House of Wind. Cassian insists that she eat to maintain her energy throughout the day, but Nesta refuses, resentful of the situation she has been placed in. When Cassian mentions her father, Nesta erupts in anger, releasing her repressed pain. Cassian does not relent and manages to get Nesta to eat reluctantly. During training, Nesta refuses to participate, humiliating Cassian in front of the Illyrian warriors. The tension between them escalates when he challenges her to stand up, but she remains motionless, showing him her disdain. Cassian withdraws to train alone, while Nesta remains like a statue, trapped in her own internal struggle. The relationship between them grows more tense and Cassian begins to understand that breaking through Nesta's barriers will be much more difficult than he imagined. But he is not willing to give up. Chapter 6. Cassian continues his training while Nesta watches from a distance, refusing to participate. Morrigan appears and scolds Nesta for her attitude, reminding her that many have given more than she could ever imagine. Morrigan's words strike deep, but Nesta remains determined to resist. Upon returning to the house, Nesta finds a note ordering her to attend the underground library. There, the priestess Clotho assigns her the task of shelving books on the 3rd level. Although the task is simple, it allows Nesta to disconnect her mind from the internal storm consuming her. The silence of the library, far from being a refuge, causes dark thoughts and painful memories to resurface. At the end of the day, Nesta feels the weight of loneliness and guilt, but she does not allow anyone, not even herself, to see her weakness. Chapter 7. Cassian travels with Moore to the mansion where Jurian, Vassa, and Lucian, known as the Band of Exiles, reside. Cassian informs them that Eris's soldiers have gone missing and suspects that Brylan and Cassian are involved. During the meeting, Vassa mentions that Brylan, now transformed into an old fae witch by the cauldron, may be behind these movements, possibly aided by Cassian, an immortal sorcerer and brother of the Bone Carver. Eris, also present, reveals that his father, Baron, has pledged his forces to Brylan, which could ignite a new war. Cassian understands the gravity of the situation and agrees to keep an eye on Eris, though he deeply distrusts him. The threat of Cassian and Brylan looms over Prythian, and Cassian knows that the coming battle will be more dangerous than anyone imagines. Chapter 8. Nesta attempts to escape the House of Wind by descending the endless staircase of 10,000 steps, but her body gives out before she even reaches halfway. Exhausted and defeated, she is forced to return, where she finds Cassian waiting with a mocking smile. Although Nesta tries to maintain her dignity, Cassian perceives her vulnerability and reminds her that her weakness will only disappear if she trains. The next day, Nesta struggles through the pain and forces herself to get up and face Cassian and Azriel during breakfast. The sexual tension between Nesta and Cassian increases, taking their verbal exchanges to a new level of provocation. Later, Cassian takes her to the Wind's Refuge, where Nesta again refuses to train, choosing to sit on her rock while he trains alone. The battle of wills continues, but Cassian is determined not to give up, even though the ice surrounding Nesta's heart seems impenetrable. Chapter 9. Nesta enters a shop in the Wind's Refuge to look for warmer clothes. There she meets Emery, a winged fae who had been mutilated by her father, who clipped her wings to subdue her. Despite the pain of her past, Emery shows unbreakable determination and manages her shop with pride. Nesta feels strangely comfortable with her, accepting her offer to look for lined leather to combat the cold. When Emery recognizes Nesta for her feat of killing the king of Hybern, she shows neither fear nor awe but genuine respect, which unsettles Nesta. As she leaves, the fearful gazes of the Illyrians remind her of her reputation as a monster. That afternoon, in the library, Nesta meets Gwyneth, an acolyte with a lively spirit. Although their initial encounter is tense, Nesta senses something different in Gwyn, a spark that makes her question her own walls. Chapter 10. After an exhausting day in the library, Nesta dines alone, interacting with the House of Wind, which seems to understand her and silently fulfill her wishes. Cassian surprises her while she eats chocolate cake, and his presence unsettles her, but it also challenges her to confront her desire to be close to him. That night, Nesta has nightmares about her father's death and Ellen's transformation, waking up sweaty and terrified. Trying to escape her thoughts, she descends the stairs to go to the city but slips and falls violently. In her desperation, her power emerges and leaves a mark on the stone. The next day, Cassian notices her injuries and, although he jokes about her fall, makes it clear that she cannot keep avoiding him. Nesta refuses to train, unable to face what it entails, and Cassian, frustrated, begins to lose patience. Chapter 11. Nesta continued working in the library, accumulating hours of silent effort to distract herself from her pain. During her tasks, she interacted again with Gwyn, who showed a mixture of curiosity and determination. Their relationship began to develop when Gwyn insisted that Nesta treat her like anyone else and not with pity. Nesta, feeling drawn to Gwyn's hidden strength, slowly began to open up. That night, Cassian and Nesta had an intense argument during dinner, where Cassian lost his patience and told her that everyone hated her. Although those words hurt her deeply, Nesta hid her pain behind a mask of indifference. Cassian, frustrated by his inability to reach her, abandoned the conversation. Meanwhile, Cassian reflected with fear on his failure to connect with Nesta and realized that perhaps he had been approaching the situation from the wrong angle. Chapter 12. Cassian, determined to try a new approach, took Nesta to the training field at the House of Wind, away from the critical gazes of the Wind's Refuge. He proposed a deal. If she trained with him for an hour, she would owe him a favor. Nesta, feeling cornered, agreed. During the session, Cassian guided her through basic exercises, emphasizing the importance of balance and breathing. Although she initially felt ridiculous, Nesta persevered, noticing how concentration calmed the constant noise in her mind. At the end of the session, Cassian offered words of encouragement and assured her that no one hated her. When Nesta admitted, almost in a whisper, that she had never hated Cassian, something changed between them. That small truth sparked a glimmer of hope in Cassian's heart, marking the beginning of a new path for both of them. Chapter 13. Exhausted from the balance and stretching exercises, Nesta worked in the library while her body ached. Tired and hungry, she tried to place a book on a shelf when she met Gwyn, a priestess with copper hair and blue-green eyes, who asked for help finding a lost volume of the Great War. Nesta sensed a shadow of pain in Gwyn when she mentioned her work with Meryl, a priestess feared by all. After Gwyn left, Nesta asked the house for help in locating the book, and surprisingly, the house responded. Nesta took the book to Meryl's office, where she managed to replace the wrong volume without being discovered. Upon returning, she found Gwyn humming while looking for the lost book. Nesta returned the correct volume, saving her from Meryl's wrath. This new connection with Gwyn awakened in Nesta a faint sense of companionship. Chapter 14. Cassian, worried about Nesta, noticed her absence from breakfast and training, but the house confirmed that she had eaten. When he saw her arrive in pain at the training field, he joked about her effort. During stretching, their bodies drew closer, and the tension between them grew. Later, Nesta asked about the attack on Sangrava, where priestesses had been massacred by Hybern. Cassian revealed that only one survivor made it to the library. That information struck Nesta, reminding her of Gwyn and her sadness. Later, Cassian and Rhys met with Eris to discuss the threat from the human queens and barons' plans, but the conversation left Cassian uneasy. Meanwhile, Nesta faced her emotional and physical pain on the library stairs, finding comfort only in the house, which cared for her with warm dinners and relaxing baths. Chapter 15. Nesta, curious, descended to the 7th level of the library, where a pulsating darkness called to her. Gwyn found her at that moment, concerned, and pulled her away. Both felt a presence following them, something ancient and watchful. Gwyn used her summoning stone to protect them as they climbed to a safer level. Afterward, they talked about Nesta's history and the cauldron, which left a power inside her. Nesta revealed her weakness, while Gwyn mentioned that the priestesses carried traumas that prevented them from leaving the library. Despite the latent danger in the darkness, Nesta felt a growing connection with Gwyn, who expressed gratitude for her help. Nesta, moved by the priestesses' stories and fears, began to consider the possibility of training them so they could regain control of their lives. Chapter 16. Cassian and Nesta continue their training, but the tension between them is palpable after the previous night. Both remember the shared desire, and breakfast becomes a silent battlefield. During training, Nesta struggles with abdominal exercises and challenges Cassian to show off his great macho routine. He does so, leaving Nesta unable to look away from his body. Later, Cassian tells her about the Illyrian blood rite, a brutal survival test. Nesta, impressed, asks if females can be trained, but Cassian explains the social and cultural limitations. Inspired by Gwyn and the priestess's courage, Nesta suggests inviting them to train. Cassian agrees enthusiastically, seeing potential in the idea. Nesta's proposal marks a turning point, indicating that her path to redemption and strength might be tied to empowering others. Chapter 17. Nesta proposed to Clotho that the interested priestesses train with her to strengthen their bodies and minds. Although Clotho gave her blessing, no priestesses signed up for days. Cassian comforted Nesta, reminding her to keep trying. During the training sessions, Cassian taught her basic movements and combat positions, while Nesta also attempted to master the dreaded staircase, increasing her endurance each time. To distract herself, Nesta found solace in an erotic book, which she offered as a gift to the spirit of the house, receiving an autumn bouquet in return. Although the training kept her occupied, dark thoughts still haunted her, especially memories of her father's words. Day after day, Nesta continued waiting for a priestess to accept her offer, while she struggled to stay strong and give meaning to her efforts. Chapter 18. Nesta descended 1,000 steps to escape her thoughts, seeking exhaustion to silence her mind. Upon returning, Cassian confronted her about her argument with Ellen. Nesta admitted her frustration over the lack of responses from the priestesses and expressed her fear that if they couldn't heal after hundreds of years, what hope did she have? Cassian shared his story of vengeance, killing those who made his mother suffer. He reminded her that facing pain takes time and that she shouldn't despair. Cassian urged her to release her fury and pain, assuring her that he could handle it. However, Nesta insisted that she was not like them, leading to a tense confrontation where both revealed their internal scars. Cassian showed that he was willing to stay by her side, but Nesta continued to fight her own demons. Chapter 19. After an intense argument, Nesta kissed Cassian to silence the tension between them. The kiss unleashed uncontrollable passion, and both surrendered to each other's need. Cassian lifted her and pressed her against the wall as their bodies burned with desire. The intensity grew until Nesta touched Cassian and brought him to climax, leaving both stunned by the force of what had happened. However, when it was over, Nesta hid her vulnerability behind a cruel smile, implying that it meant nothing. Cassian was left shocked and filled with doubts, feeling ashamed for not having satisfied her. During breakfast, Cassian avoided looking Azriel in the eye while his mind replayed every moment of his encounter with Nesta. Although both knew it had been more than just desire, neither was willing to admit it. Chapter 20. Nesta and Cassian flew to the river house for a crucial meeting. Azriel reported that Queen Brylin, allied with Cassian, planned to find the dread trove to free the Death Lord from his lake. The trove consisted of the mask, which resurrected the dead, the harp, which opened doors, and the crown, which controlled minds. If Brylin obtained these objects, she could unleash unimaginable power and plunge Prythian into a devastating war. Cassian sought to use the trove for his own dark purposes. Amren warned that these objects had consciousness and could hide from those deemed unworthy. Nesta revealed that, being made by the cauldron, she could track the trove. At the end, Ellen unexpectedly appeared at the meeting and offered her help to find the trove, leaving everyone surprised. Chapter 21. Nesta and Ellen argue fiercely when Nesta refuses to let her sister track the dread trove, recalling the horrors of the cauldron. Amren reveals that Nesta, made by the cauldron, is immune to its influence and can track objects created by it. Ellen, upset by Nesta's overprotection, expresses her desire to participate, leading to a heated argument that ends with Nesta emotionally hurting her sister. The tension breaks when Fair reveals that she is pregnant, and joy fills the room. Rhys shows his protective side, and everyone celebrates the news. However, Nesta accepts the dangerous task of seeking the trove to protect Ellen. Later, Fair reveals to Nesta that the baby is a boy and entrusts her with that secret before telling anyone else, showing her desire to reconnect with her older sister. Chapter 22. Cassian and Azriel discuss the possibility of Nesta finding the dread trove. Cassian understands Nesta's sacrifice in protecting Ellen and respects her decision. However, his thoughts drift to the intense, intimate experience he had with Nesta, a moment that left a deep mark on him. Unable to resist, Cassian seeks out Nesta to settle his debt and give her pleasure. He finds her in her room, and after an exchange charged with tension and desire, they both give in to the unleashed passion. Cassian, determined to return the favor, takes her to the heights of ecstasy. However, afterward, he abruptly withdraws, leaving Nesta confused and vulnerable. Despite the intensity of what they shared, Cassian insists that they are now even, but both know that what is happening between them is far from over. Chapter 23. Cassian is deeply affected by the intimate experience with Nesta, unable to forget her or get her out of his mind. However, during the next day's training, both act as if nothing happened, starting a silent game to see who can better pretend indifference. Azriel, always perceptive, notices the tension between them but remains silent. Cassian and Azriel engage in a sparring match where they release their accumulated energy while Nesta watches closely. During the fight, Az uses a trick to distract Cassian and lands a strong blow, proving that Cassian still lets his concern for Nesta affect him. At the end of the training, Cassian and Nesta continue their game of pretense, while the tension and desire between them dangerously continue to grow. Chapter 24. Nesta begins secretly training in the library to perfect her movements. Clotho, concerned about the distractions it causes, asks Cassian to talk to her. Cassian finds her practicing among the books and gently corrects her, but is surprised to discover that Nesta trains not only for herself but to set an example for the priestesses. Her goal is to inspire them to join the training, showing that they can be strong and defend themselves. Although no priestess initially signs up, Nesta persists. Finally, Gwyn, a priestess with copper hair and bright eyes, is the first to sign up for training. Nesta's determination begins to bear fruit, although there is still a long way to go to earn the trust of the other priestesses. Chapter 25. Gwyn joins the training, showing determination and courage in facing her fears. Cassian guides Nesta in teaching Gwyn the basic movements, and the priestess surprises them with her quick learning. Meanwhile, Cassian meets with Eris to discuss the Dread Trove, discovering that Brylin is acting behind Baron's back, increasing the danger. Nesta also visits Emery, the Illyrian shopkeeper, and invites her to train, offering her an opportunity to strengthen her spirit and body. Emery hesitates, but the offer remains open. Nesta begins to build a network of female support and strength, while Cassian deals with the threats looming over them. The battle is just beginning, and the fate of the world depends on their success. Chapter 26. Nesta senses the tension between Cassian and Rhys, and after a meeting with Eris, which leaves her unsettled. During dinner, Cassian shows his frustration over the alliance with Eris, hating his cruel and manipulative soul. Nesta perceives his pain and shame, knowing that Eris's words touch deep wounds. Wanting to comfort him, Nesta takes the initiative and seduces him, using her body to calm him. The intimacy between them is intense, with Cassian completely surrendering to the desire that Nesta awakens in him. However, Azriel interrupts at the most inopportune moment, creating awkwardness. Afterward, Nesta withdraws, leaving Cassian confused and eager to understand what he really means to her. Azriel warns Cassian not to be so obvious with his feelings, while Cassian, filled with conflicting emotions, tries to understand what is truly happening between him and Nesta. Chapter 27. The next day, Nesta tries to avoid Cassian after their intimate encounter, but Gwyn becomes a welcome distraction. Nesta asks Cassian to take a gift of spices and tea to Emery as a gesture of gratitude and to encourage her to join the training. Cassian visits Emery's shop, who is touched by the gift and considers Nesta's invitation. Although hesitant, Cassian encourages her by offering transportation if she decides to participate. Emery, moved by Nesta's gesture of kindness, begins to question her fears and feels drawn to the possibility of joining. Meanwhile, Nesta struggles with her own thoughts and fears about the Dread Trove, dreading the idea of resorting to scrying. Cassian, observing her gesture toward Emery and her growing connection with Gwyn, begins to see a more compassionate side of Nesta, though she is still not ready to acknowledge it. Chapter 28. Emery finally joins the training, though her balance is unstable due to her damaged wings. Cassian explains how wings act as a counterbalance, causing Emery to lose stability without them. Emery reveals that it was her father who cut her wings, provoking outrage in Cassian and Nesta. As Emery tries to maintain her composure, Gwyn and Nesta support her, and a new camaraderie is born between them. During practice, their conversations drift toward their favorite readings, and Emery mentions Selwyn Drake's novels, sparking Gwyn's curiosity. The bond between the three women strengthens, creating a connection based on mutual understanding and support. Rhys arrives to take Emery back to the Wind's Refuge, leaving Cassian and Nesta to deal with the emotional consequences of their growing relationship. Cassian perceives the change in Nesta, noticing her efforts to connect with others. Chapter 29. Nesta, tormented by nightmares of the cauldron, tries to distract herself by descending the stairs of the House of Wind, but guilt and fear consume her. When the house offers her stones and bones for scrying, Nesta refuses, fearing the cauldron's power. Meanwhile, Amren pressures Cassian to convince Nesta to seek the Dread Trove, warning that Ellen could be involved if Nesta refuses. 3 days later, Nesta finally attempts scrying but fails, unable to withstand the memories of the cauldron. That night, Nesta is trapped in a nightmare where the cauldron hunts her. Her power is unleashed while she sleeps, filling the room with silver flames. Rhys intervenes, fighting against her power to wake her. Cassian, terrified of losing her, witnesses the immense power of Nesta, pure death. Rhys, shocked by what he has seen in her mind, finally understands the deep trauma she carries. Chapter 30. Nesta woke up from a horrible nightmare where the cauldron had trapped her. Cassian's voice saved her, bringing her back to safety. Upon awakening, she found him asleep beside her, exhausted from watching over her all night. Later, while training with Emery and Gwyn, Nesta confessed her nightmares, feeling relief in sharing her pain. Meanwhile, Cassian met with Rhys-Anne, who revealed terrifying news. Fair's baby has wings. Due to Fair's anatomy, childbirth could be fatal for both her and the baby, as High Fae are not built to give birth to winged children. Rhys was on the verge of collapse, and Cassian, concerned, suggested summoning Lucian to closely monitor Tamlin and prevent potential problems. Despite his fear, Rhys accepted the suggestion and prepared for what was to come. Chapter 31. Cassian appeared at the river house, bruised and battered after a brutal training session with Rhys, who needed to release his anguish over Fair's pregnancy. During dinner, Cassian explained to Nesta the gravity of the situation and the mortal danger Fair faced during childbirth. Shocked, Nesta suggested seeking help from other courts that might know more about winged births. Cassian assured her that Rhys would do everything possible to save Fair. Later, Nesta proposed retrying the scrying to locate the mask of the Dread Trove. Cassian insisted that Rhys, Amren, and Azriel be present. During dinner, Nesta provoked Cassian, igniting the desire between them, but she made it clear that she would only give herself to him when he was healed. Cassian accepted the challenge, promising to wait for her. The tension between them grew, fueling their attraction. Chapter 32. Nesta and Cassian, along with Azriel, set off for Orid, the dark swamp where the mask was hidden. Despite warnings from Rhys and Fair, Nesta insisted on going, feeling that her power was necessary to locate the artifact. Fair expressed her concern, but Nesta stood firm in her decision. Upon arrival, Orid presented itself as a dead and malevolent place, where neither insects nor birds dared to exist. Cassian explained that dangerous creatures, such as kelpies and lightsingers, still inhabited those waters. As they flew over the swamp, Nesta began to feel something strange, but before she could warn them, Azriel vanished into the mist. Danger loomed, and Cassian and Nesta prepared to face it, knowing that Orid would not let them leave easily if they did not find the mask. Chapter 33. Azriel disappeared into the mist as Cassian and Nesta descended to search for him. When they found him, they discovered he was surrounded by soldiers from the Autumn Court, possibly those who had gone missing from Eris or sent by Baron. Cassian fought fiercely to protect Azriel, who had been wounded by an ash arrow. Meanwhile, Nesta remained hidden in a tree, waiting for Cassian to return for her. However, after too much time had passed, fear forced her to come down and search for him. While exploring the swamp's shore, she felt a malevolent presence. When she looked at her reflection in the water, she saw black eyes watching her from the depths. Before she could react, a kelpie emerged from the water and dragged her into the swamp, leaving her fate uncertain. Chapter 34. The kelpie emerged from the water, an ancient and terrifying creature with sharp teeth and a sadistic grin. It dragged Nesta into the water, ignoring her struggles to escape. Nesta's fight was futile as the kelpie submerged her into the darkness of the swamp. Meanwhile, Cassian and Azriel, after defeating the soldiers, returned quickly to search for her, but only found her scent leading to the shore. Desperation consumed Cassian as he realized Nesta had vanished into the black waters. Although Azriel had captured 2 soldiers for interrogation, Cassian could think of nothing else but Nesta's life. Orid held its secrets and dangers, and Cassian feared that time was running out to save her. Chapter 35. Nesta was dragged into the dark, icy waters of Orid's swamp, feeling the terror of her past as memories of the cauldron flooded her mind. A kelpie, a horrifying creature, submerged and tormented her, delighting in her fear as it tried to possess her. When her strength seemed exhausted, Nesta desperately searched for her inner power. Amid the darkness, her fingers found something glowing, the mask, one of the objects of the trove. Upon placing it on her face, Nesta felt her pain disappear, transforming into a cold, powerful, and lethal being. The kelpie, realizing the change, tried to escape, but it was too late. With the mask on, Nesta summoned the dead from the swamp, who emerged to tear the kelpie apart. The victory was hers, but the darkness and power she felt with the mask terrified her, though she managed to control it and survive. Chapter 36. Upon putting on the mask, Nesta no longer feels pain or the need for air. The dead of the swamp, ancient warriors and forgotten corpses, respond to her call, surrounding the kelpie and trapping it with skeletal hands. Nesta, with absolute control over the dead, allows them to tear it apart, releasing her pent-up fury and avenging the horror she endured. Meanwhile, Cassian and Azriel desperately search for Nesta in the swamp, fearing they have lost her. Seeing a golden light emerging from the water, they witness Nesta rising from the depths, surrounded by a legion of the dead kneeling before her. With the kelpie's head hanging from her hand, Nesta is the living embodiment of death itself. Cassian and Azriel, overwhelmed by the power emanating from her, bow in respect, fearing the dark power that Nesta now controls. Chapter 37. In the dungeons of the Hewn City, Rhys, Cassian, Azriel, and Fair interrogate the captured soldiers from the Autumn Court, who were found under the control of a dark spell. The prisoners seem to be under a mental fog that only Helion could break. Meanwhile, Nesta is taken to Rhys's residence, where she is kept under watch, and the mask, covered and protected, rests near her. Upon waking, Nesta feels the mask's call and is found staring at it, unable to pull herself away from its attraction. Rhys and Amren explain that the mask can only be controlled by someone with power similar to hers, making her its natural guardian. Cassian, concerned for Nesta's safety, tries to comfort her, but the connection between her and the mask is deep and dangerous. The tension grows as they debate what to do with the artifact before it falls into the wrong hands. Chapter 38. Nesta returns to the training field with Emery and Gwyn, but the tension with Cassian after their night together is palpable. Emery and Gwyn notice the change in Nesta and tease her playfully, but she avoids the topic. During training, Cassian, knowing something has changed in Nesta, decides it's time for her to start handling a sword. As Cassian guides her through the basic movements, Nesta feels that every cut and thrust reflects her desire never to be weak or powerless again. The intense emotions consuming her are channeled through the sword, and Cassian, watching her, realizes that something powerful has awakened within her. Gwyn mentions a Valkyrie technique to calm the mind, and Nesta, intrigued, sees this as an opportunity to control her inner demons. The 3 friends begin learning together, marking a new beginning for Nesta. Chapter 39. Consumed by an inner fire, Nesta descends the endless stairs of the House of Wind. Each step is a reminder of her promise. She will never be weak or fearful again. Remembering the terror she experienced with the Kelpie and her helplessness in the cauldron, she repeats to herself that she will never feel that way again. The next day, Cassian watches with admiration as Nesta, Emery, and Gwyn train in the rain alongside new priestesses. Roslyn, one of them, shows courage by revealing her face. As Cassian guides the lesson, Gwyn, distracted by Azriel's presence, learns techniques to immobilize an opponent. Nesta absorbs every lesson, determined never to stop. Later, Nesta and Gwyn practice Valkyrie meditation in the library, seeking to calm their restless minds. For the first time, Nesta finds true serenity, feeling that her mind and body are finally at peace with themselves. Chapter 40. Cassian takes Nesta to a forge to appreciate the art of weapon making. The blacksmith, initially reluctant, relents when Nesta shows respect for his craft. Cassian watches as she follows the instructions, striking the metal on the anvil with strength and precision. Each strike reflects her determination, channeling her rage and pain into the blade. Nesta's passion and control impress the blacksmith, who allows her to continue. Her technique improves rapidly, and her connection to the metal becomes almost mystical. As she works, Nesta seems to release more than just physical strength. When she finishes, Cassian notices that she has changed. Her determination, focus, and the intensity with which she hammers the blades make Cassian suspect that something extraordinary has happened, though he cannot explain it. The day ends with Nesta feeling powerful and more connected to her true self. Chapter 41. Helion arrives at the hewn city, riding a majestic winged horse named Milon, leaving everyone in awe. Rhys and Fair decide to trust Helion, revealing Fair's pregnancy and asking for his help to protect her. Helion, affected by the news, promises to seek answers in his libraries. Helion then examines the mask of the Dread Trove, and its ancient power deeply unsettles him. Seeing the effect it has on Helion, Nesta decides not to learn the spell to unlock it, fearing what it could do if it fell into the wrong hands. Rhys assigns Cassian and Nesta the mission of meeting with Eris to negotiate and gather information about Brylin. Meanwhile, Azriel suggests investigating more about the crown, but Fair and Rhys forbid him from approaching Brylin due to the danger posed by the crown's influence. Tension grows as everyone senses an imminent threat. Chapter 42. Cassian receives a call from Rhys at dawn, who shows him the weapons Nesta forged. The blacksmith left them behind, fearful, claiming they were cursed. Rhys, Amren, and Azriel quickly realize that Nesta has imbued her power into the weapons, creating objects similar to the Dread Trove. Cassian defends Nesta, refusing to hide the truth from her, but Amren warns of the danger her power could unleash. The swords, especially the largest one, shine with pure magic, and Amren fears they could trigger uncontrollable power. Rhys and Cassian contemplate the possibility that these weapons could change Prythian's fate, but Rhys refuses to accept the role of High King. Amren, however, suggests that the cauldron has set everything in place for Rhys to rule, with Nesta as an unstoppable force. Cassian feels the weight of destiny upon them and fears what these weapons mean for the future. Chapter 43. Nesta and Cassian waited for Eris in the spring court. As they admired the blooming cherry trees and the beauty of the place, Cassian confessed that he had allergies, making Nesta laugh. Eris appeared with his usual arrogant attitude, and Cassian informed him that almost all his soldiers had died, except for 2 they managed to capture. Eris, incredulous, questioned their motives and hinted at his disdain. During the exchange, Nesta implied that the ash arrows used could have come from Eris, which unsettled him. However, the conversation was interrupted when Tamlin appeared in his beast form, watching them with hatred. Nesta, recalling the harm Tamlin caused Fair, confronted him with coldness and determination. Tamlin could do nothing but remain motionless as Nesta warned him not to touch them. Finally, Cassian led her away, leaving the defeated High Lord behind. Chapter 44. Gwyn, Emery, and Nesta trained under Cassian's supervision, who had decided it was time to incorporate the Valkyrie techniques. Cassian confessed that he had fought alongside them in the war and witnessed their bravery in the Battle of the Pass of Maynir, where many died to protect their land. The priestesses were impressed by the story, and Cassian taught them the remaining maneuvers of the eight-pointed star. Gwyn suggested merging Illyrian techniques with Valkyrie ones to create something new. Cassian, though surprised, accepted the proposal and asked Gwyn to gather more information about these warriors. As they trained, Azrael watched attentively from afar, as if sensing something important was happening. Cassian, with renewed hope, began to envision that these women could revive the indomitable spirit of the Valkyries. Chapter 45. Cassian subjected Nesta, Gwyn, and Emery to rigorous training. During the exercises, Cassian asked Nesta what name she would give a sword, but she responded evasively. Finally, he confessed the truth. When Nesta hammered the weapons in the forge, she imbued them with her cauldron power, creating 3 magical weapons, a new dread trove. Nesta felt betrayed upon learning that Rhys, Fair, and the others had voted on whether to tell her, with Amren and Rhys voting against. The revelation shattered Nesta, who felt her worth and power had been questioned. Although Cassian tried to explain that they trusted her, the damage was done. Nesta, hurt and furious, used her training to serenade the mind and hide her pain. However, the seed of betrayal had been planted, and the distance between her and Cassian grew, leaving Nesta immersed in painful silence. Chapter 46. Consumed by fury after discovering the vote, Nesta descended the endless stairs of the House of Wind to Valaris. With her heart pounding with rage, she burst into Amren and Varian's room, demanding answers. Amren, cold and direct, stated that Nesta was not worthy of that power. Nesta felt betrayed by someone she considered a friend. The confrontation escalated until Fair appeared, trying to calm the situation. But Nesta, driven by fury and pain, revealed that the baby Fair was expecting would kill her during childbirth due to the Illyrian wings. Fair was devastated to discover that Rhys had kept the truth from her. Nesta's confession caused a deadly silence, and Amren accused her of going too far. Aware of the damage she had caused, Nesta fled, unable to face the consequences of her words. Chapter 47. Cassian found Nesta fleeing through the streets of Valaris, trying to escape her own guilt. He lifted her effortlessly and flew her away from the city. Rhys, consumed by rage after Nesta's confession to Fair, had ordered Cassian to remove her before he killed her. Cassian flew without looking back, taking Nesta to the sleeping mountains. For hours, she remained motionless in his arms, lost in her pain. Upon reaching a remote area, Cassian set up camp while Nesta curled up against the cold rock, wishing to disappear. Fair, however, communicated mentally with Cassian, assuring him that she was fine and wanted them both to return. But Cassian decided that Nesta needed time to process everything and heal. They would remain in the wilderness as long as necessary before returning, while he watched over her, determined to protect her, even from herself. Chapter 48. Nesta woke up at dawn, exhausted and sore after a cold night. Cassian offered her a meager breakfast, but his demeanor was distant and rigid. They embarked on a grueling hike through the mountains, where Nesta carried a heavy backpack while her body protested the effort. Cassian maintained impenetrable silence for hours, while the green landscape and crystal-clear rivers seemed indifferent to the storm Nesta carried within. They descended toward a river to have lunch and rest briefly, where Cassian offered her a canteen. The coldness in his voice hurt more than the rocks along the path. The silence between them grew, reflecting Nesta's inner struggle. Cassian, aware of her internal battle, let her rest but knew that only she could confront her demons. As they continued their journey through the ancient mountains that once healed lost souls, Cassian wondered if this journey would be enough to save Nesta. Chapter 49. After hours of exhausting hiking, Cassian decided to camp at a mountain overlook. Nesta, trembling and exhausted, collapsed to the ground, unable to move. Cassian's coldness persisted as she struggled to take off her backpack. Night fell over the mountains, and as Cassian prepared a simple meal, Nesta felt the vastness of the surroundings as an echo of her own emptiness. For 2 more days, she continued walking in silence, not uttering a word, carrying not only the weight of the backpack but also her pain. Her body, exhausted and dehydrated, betrayed her, and she fainted. Cassian, realizing the danger, revived her and gave her water. Despite his harsh treatment, Cassian knew that Nesta was not only fighting physical pain, but also a deeper darkness. The storm Cassian feared was near, and he knew that when it came, it would change everything. Chapter 50. Upon reaching the lake hidden among the mountains, Nesta fell to her knees, overwhelmed by a torrent of repressed emotions. Her tears broke the dam holding back her pain, guilt, and hatred toward herself. Cassian watched in silence, allowing her to release everything she had been holding inside. Nesta confessed her pain over her father's death, her guilt for not saving him, and the hatred she felt toward herself for all her actions. Cassian, with tenderness and patience, assured her that she could overcome that pain, that she was not alone, and that he would be by her side every step of the way. His words were a beacon in Nesta's darkness, and although she feared not knowing how to move forward, Cassian promised her that the path, though difficult, would be worth it. That night, under the moonlight, Nesta began to heal. Chapter 51. After the catharsis at the lake, Nesta and Cassian returned to Valaris, where she resumed her training with Gwyn and Emery. During practice, Cassian showed them the final Valkyrie test, cutting a ribbon in half with a single movement. None of them succeeded, but the challenge ignited Nesta's determination. The passion between her and Cassian burned intensely during their nights together, although he never stayed to sleep. Nesta also resumed her challenge with the endless stairs of the house, feeling that she still had a long way to go to find peace. As she practiced, she also began to open up to Gwyn, sharing her past of pain and self-destruction. Gwyn and Emery's friendship became a beacon of support. Although she had not achieved perfection, Nesta felt that each step, each strike of the sword, brought her closer to rediscovering herself. Chapter 52. Nesta attended a nighttime service in the library, where the music of the priestesses filled the cave with ancient magic. Gwyn's voice rose like a beacon, guiding Nesta into a vision that transported her to a hidden mountain where she discovered the location of the harp, one of the Dread Trove artifacts. The music took her to a place of primordial darkness, where she felt the presence of dangerous beings. The harp called to her, whispering promises of power and liberation. Nesta woke from the vision with the certainty that the harp was hidden in the prison. When she informed Cassian, he went to Rhys to relay the news. Rhys, worried about the consequences, decided to lift the magical barriers so that Cassian and Nesta could retrieve the artifact before it fell into the wrong hands. The fate of the world hung by a thread. Chapter 53. Nesta and Cassian arrived at the prison to search for the harp, a powerful artifact hidden deep within the mountain. Rhys and left them there, as no magic could penetrate the protections of that place. As they advanced through the darkness, Nesta felt the presence of horrible creatures imprisoned there, including the bone carver. Cassian recognized the place from Nesta's vision, with the iron door marked with a rune. After finding the hidden entrance, they descended and reached an ancient chamber filled with star symbols. The golden harp rested at the center, but Nesta sensed that the protections were dangerous and unlike any other magic. When she touched the harp, a vision transported her to the past, where she witnessed Queen Bryalin's betrayal, who could now see Nesta's location. The darkness threatened to trap her in the stone, but Nesta managed to free herself by plucking a string on the harp, breaking the protections and awakening something even more dangerous. Chapter 54. By breaking the protections, Nesta also released Lanthes, an ancient immortal who had been imprisoned in the prison. Cassian, aware of the danger, faced Lanthes' malignant mist to give Nesta time to escape. However, Lanthes toyed with their minds and discovered Nesta's presence, mocking her power and the harp she carried. Cassian attacked to protect her, but Lanthes was immortal and seemed impossible to kill. Nesta fled through the corridors, hearing the echoes of the prisoners' screams yearning to be freed. When she reached the exit, a group of Autumn Court soldiers, sent by Bryalin, tried to intercept her. Desperate, Nesta realized that the harp could move her through space and return to Cassian, who was gravely wounded after fighting Lanthes. Lanthes attempted to subdue Nesta with illusions of power and lust, but she rejected his offer and, finally, with ataraxia, the sword she had forged, Nesta confronted the immortal monster. Chapter 55. Nesta, with ataraxia glowing with her power, faced Lanthes, who took on his physical form to fight. The sword forged by Nesta, filled with her power, was the key to defeating the immortal. Cassian, weakened but determined, helped by throwing a dagger that allowed Nesta to deliver the final blow and decapitate Lanthes. However, Autumn Court soldiers approached, and Nesta used the harp to transport herself and Cassian to Fair's house in Valaris, where Cassian collapsed unconscious from his wounds. Upon waking, Cassian argued with Rhys about his injuries, while Nesta and Fair exchanged apologies and forgiveness through their minds, healing their relationship. Rhys and Fair decided to protect the harp by separating it from the mask to prevent it from falling into enemy hands. Nesta felt guilty for what happened in the prison, but Cassian silently supported her, reminding her that they had always been friends. Chapter 56. Winter blankets Valaris as Nesta trains with Gwyn and Emery, strengthening her body and mind. Despite her fears, she confronts her inner demons. Cassian remains her refuge, though she fears that he may eventually tire of her. Meanwhile, Nesta learns to dance with Morrigan to seduce Eris during the solstice, a strategy to maintain their alliance. An unexpected gift from Gwyn fills Nesta and Emery with emotion. Their stories have been added to the book about the Valkyries. That night, Nesta faces her fear of fire, remembering her father's death, but manages to stay by the flames, accepting her pain. The house guides her to the deepest darkness of the library, where Nesta recognizes the house's loneliness and sadness, reflecting her own pain. Realizing that they are alike, Nesta thanks the house and accepts the darkness as part of her home. Chapter 57. Cassian awaited the winter solstice, but that year, bitter feelings invaded him, especially at the thought of seeing Nesta dance with Eris that night. The Court of Nightmares was decorated, and the arrival of Fair and Rhys, crowned and proudly displaying Fair's pregnancy, left everyone speechless. Cassian barely contained his fury when he saw Nesta, radiant and dressed in the style of the Night Court, accompanied by Ellen. Nesta shone like a dark goddess, her black dress embroidered with silver threads highlighting her power. As the dance began, Nesta mesmerized everyone, moving with grace and skill. Eris, captivated, followed her as she dominated the floor, eclipsing everyone with her prowess. Cassian could barely contain his jealousy and rage as he watched Nesta seduce Eris on the dance floor. The atmosphere was charged with tension, and Cassian could only think of protecting her. Chapter 58. Nesta attended the winter solstice at the river house, though discomfort consumed her. She avoided Ellen for most of the night until a spontaneous comment broke the ice between them, causing sincere laughter. Upon entering the living room, Azriel gifted her a small magical artifact to illuminate her books at night, a gesture that Nesta gratefully acknowledged with a hug. Cassian also gave her a special gift, a symphonious sphere that captured the music of their waltz at the Court of Nightmares. However, her fear and insecurity led her to reject it, provoking a painful argument between them. Nesta tearfully confessed that she never felt worthy of Cassian, revealing her deepest fears. Cassian, moved, assured her that there would never be anyone else for him. Finally, they surrendered to each other, sealing their connection in an eternal and profound way. Chapter 59. Nesta woke up feeling complete and protected in Cassian's arms. After making love again, Cassian left for an annual snowball fight with Rhys and Azriel. 3 days later, Nesta, anxious about his absence, found comfort in her friends, Emery and Gwyn, who joined her for a sleepover at the House of Wind. The house granted them magical wishes, and Gwyn shared memories of her sister Katrin, reminding Nesta of the importance of family. In the end, Nesta took 3 charms to make bracelets and made a sincere wish for the 3 of them, that they would always be able to find each other, no matter the circumstances. That night, amid laughter and friendship, Nesta found a new refuge in her friends, her chosen family, while her heart eagerly awaited Cassian's return. Chapter 60. Cassian returned after 5 days to find a significant change in Nesta, Gwyn, and Emery. The three were training, and Gwyn, with courage, cut the ribbon on the post, a symbolic act that made them Valkyries. This new bond between them was strong, and Cassian sensed that this moment would change the course of their lives. The next day, Cassian and Azriel introduced an obstacle course for the Valkyries to work as a team and complete the challenge. Although it was impossible at first, the three persisted, improving their strength and coordination. After weeks of hard training, the Valkyries conquered the course, and Cassian and Azriel recognized them as worthy of facing the blood rite. In the presence of Lord Devlon, it was proven that they were as powerful as any Illyrian warrior. Nesta, proud, preferred to be called a Valkyrie rather than an Illyrian, and all the other females agreed. Chapter 61. Nesta knew there was still one personal test left: descending the 10,000 steps. With determination, she went down without stopping, immersed in the practice of serenating the mind, facing her pain and fear. Upon reaching the bottom, instead of venturing into the city, she decided to return to the house, where Cassian was waiting for her. When she reached the top, he welcomed her with a kiss and took her to the Starfall celebration. During the event, Nesta saw the beauty of the world and felt gratitude for being alive. Later, in a moment of humility, she knelt before Amren and sincerely apologized for her past behavior. Amren revealed that the house had come to life because of Nesta's desire to have a friend. Nesta had created something beautiful from her darkness. Amren accepted her again and recognized her as part of the Night Court, leaving behind the resentment. Chapter 62. With the arrival of spring, Nesta felt renewed, but peace was fragile. The threat of Brylin and Baron still lingered, and a red star in the sky was taken as a bad omen. Nesta continued training with the priestesses, strengthening their unity and skills. Cassian mentioned that the blood rite was approaching, a brutal trial that historically turned Illyrian warriors into ruthless killers. The calm was shattered when Eris summoned Nesta and Cassian to a secret meeting to warn them about his father's movements and the possible consequences. During the meeting, Eris suspected that the Night Court had the harp and distrusted their intentions. Cassian handled the situation with political skill, mimicking a courtier's demeanor. However, danger loomed, and the uncertainty about the power of Brylin's crown made it clear that the threat was far from being controlled. Chapter 63. Cassian was summoned to the Wind's Refuge after Nesta, Gwyn, and Emery were kidnapped to participate in the blood rite. This brutal event, filled with dangers, prohibited any external intervention under penalty of death for anyone who tried to rescue a participant. Cassian was desperate, but Rhys reminded him that they could not interfere without risking their lives. To make matters worse, Eris had been captured by Brylin and was at risk of revealing secrets about the Night Court. Cassian and Azriel were forced to set aside their desire to rescue Nesta to save Eris before he could be used against them. Despite his anguish, Cassian trusted that he had trained Nesta and the other Valkyries well. He knew that if anyone could survive the rite, it was them. However, uncertainty and fear consumed him as he set out in search of Eris. Chapter 64. Nesta woke up amid the chaos of the blood rite, surrounded by the bodies of unconscious Illyrian warriors. Without her powers, she knew she had to survive using only her physical skills. Dressed only in a nightgown and unarmed, she saw an awake Illyrian warrior stalking her like a beast. Spotting a knife embedded in a nearby tree, Nesta decided to fight. She ran for the weapon, and although the warrior reached her, she managed to stab him in the throat, killing him. She then dressed in the dead warrior's clothes, preparing for what lay ahead. Her only goal now was to find Gwyn and Emery before the other warriors woke up. Meanwhile, Cassian, aware that he could not intervene, trusted that Nesta would find the strength to survive. But danger was imminent, and Nesta would have to fight against ruthless enemies to stay alive. Chapter 65. Nesta moved away from the camp to search for Emery and Gwyn, recalling Cassian's warnings about the blood rites dumping grounds. She climbed a tree to orient herself, discovering she was in the west and that her friends could be either north or south. The charm on her bracelet, made with a wish to reunite, began to glow intensely when pointed north, indicating danger. Without magic to heal, Nesta understood that she was alone in saving her friends. As she moved, she picked up an arrow, confirming that weapons were scattered throughout the right. Encountering an Illyrian warrior, she killed him strategically to protect Emery, who was nearby. Without rest, she followed the river and found Emery unconscious, trapped under a fallen tree. Despite the cold, Nesta rescued her friend and found refuge in a cave, where an Illyrian named Balthazar offered them help and warmth. Chapter 66. Nesta spent the night keeping watch while Balthazar protected the cave. Emery woke up, wounded but alive, and together they decided to search for Gwyn, following the glow of the charm that pointed south. They crossed a forest covered with corpses and snow, collecting clothes and weapons to survive. Upon reaching the edge of a cliff, Nesta saw 10 warriors camped below and noticed Gwyn's nightgown hanging from a branch. The hope of finding her vanished when Emery was captured by 2 males. Nesta remembered Cassian's teachings and used her training to stay calm while analyzing the situation. Just as Bellius, Emery's cousin, revealed that he had brought weapons to the right under Brylan's orders, a beast emerged from the shadows, gutting a warrior. Nesta and Emery took advantage of the chaos to escape, finding Gwyn, who had lured the beast to save them. Together, the Valkyries fled to the safety of the forest. Chapter 67. Gwyn, Nesta, and Emery fled to a stream where they caught their breath. Gwyn explained how she had survived, found weapons, and used her bracelet to locate them. As night fell, they sought refuge in a tree, tying themselves with a rope to protect against beasts. Emery told them about the rite, the dangerous ascent to Ramiel, and the story of Analius, who stood alone to save his people. The next day, they ran toward a bridge Gwyn had seen from above, but were intercepted by Illyrian warriors. They fought fiercely, using their training to defeat them. Upon reaching the bridge, Gwyn was struck by an arrow in her thigh. Nesta and Emery used a rope to save her just as the bridge collapsed, dragging the warriors into the abyss. Exhausted and bloodied, they continued toward Ramiel, determined to win not only the right, but also their freedom. Chapter 68. At the foot of Ramiel, Nesta, Emery, and Gwyn contemplated the challenge ahead. Gwyn, determined to confront her demons, confessed her painful past, her assault during the Sangrava massacre and her guilt over her sister's death. Emery also revealed the abuse by her father, who beat and controlled her life. Nesta, full of guilt over her father's death, confessed her pain and self-destruction. United by their scars, the Valkyries decided to face the mountain for themselves, to prove that they could be something new and powerful. Despite hunger, fatigue, and wounds, they promised to climb the breaking to win the blood right. With hope and determination, they looked toward the summit, knowing they would win not to impress others but to prove to themselves that they were unbreakable. Chapter 69. Cassian and Azrael followed Eris and Brylan's caravan into an ancient, mysterious forest. For 3 days, they observed without finding any trace of the crown. Eris did not appear to be chained, but something was off. Upon reaching a dark lake, the brothers descended to observe closely when Eris's voice surprised them. Cassian turned to find Eris holding Nesta's dagger against his ribs. Meanwhile, Nesta, Gwyn, and Emery climbed the breaking, exhausted and with their water rationed. Gwyn's leg was bleeding, and Emery was limping, but the summit still seemed far away. As they stopped to rest, Nesta saw Bellius and his warriors approaching. Determined to protect her friends, Nesta urged them to continue, carrying Gwyn on her back. She climbed with effort, using the strength she had gained after climbing thousands of steps in the House of Wind. Chapter 70. Nesta and Emery reached Analius's Pass, a sacred stone arch where no Illyrian of their lineage had ever stood before. But when they were close to the summit, Nesta tumbled down with Gwyn, ending up dangerously close to Bellius's warriors. Exhausted, Nesta realized she could no longer carry Gwyn, who was barely breathing. To protect them, Nesta decided to stay behind and face the males alone while Emery carried Gwyn toward the summit. She promised to protect them at all costs and, Using the serenating the mind technique Cassian had taught her, controlled her fear and prepared her body for battle. Emery, with tears in her eyes, accepted the mission and left with Gwyn, leaving Nesta standing, ready to hold off the enemies and become the rock against which the Illyrians would break. Chapter 71. Cassian and Azriel watched in horror as Bryalen's hooded figure disappeared upon reaching the lake, revealing that it was only an illusion. On the surface of the lake, the dark silhouette of Cassian, an ancient immortal being, emerged. His presence chilled Cassian's blood as he demanded Eris's release. Cassian, mocking and malevolent, showed no intention of letting him go. Azriel, understanding the danger, flew away with Eris to protect the enchanted dagger. However, Brylan emerged, wearing the crown, and Cassian, unable to resist, was trapped by her magic. Paralyzed, he could not prevent Brylan from ordering Cassian to transport them away. Meanwhile, Nesta stood firm at Analius's pass, defending the line she had drawn, killing one Illyrian warrior after another. Only Bellius remained, and Nesta's determination burned like an unstoppable fire. Chapter 72. With Gwyn and Emery safe after touching the sacred stone, Nesta only needed to hold on a little longer. Bellius, full of hatred, attacked relentlessly, and Nesta, exhausted and unarmed, barely managed to stay on her feet. The snow and storm darkened the mountain, but Bellius showed no mercy. With cunning, he disarmed her, leaving her vulnerable and at his mercy. Bleeding and exhausted, Nesta fell against a rock, her strength almost gone. But in her mind, Cassian's words echoed, along with the memories of her friends. She stood up one last time, prepared to fight with all her being. Bellius approached with the intent to kill her with his bare hands, but Nesta, drawing on the strength of her training and her unwavering will, prepared to face him. She only needed to hold on for a few more minutes. Dawn was near. Chapter 73. When Bellius was about to kill her, a ray of hope pierced through the storm. Cassian appeared like thunder, with his wings spread wide and his sword ready. In an instant, he pierced Bellius's throat, saving Nesta at the last moment. But the joy faded when Cassian, with a sweet but deadly voice, whispered that he would slit her throat. Brylan, wielding the crown, controlled Cassian and forced him to do her bidding. Nesta, terrified, saw how Cassian struggled internally to resist, but it was useless. His body did not respond. Cassian's own soul screamed silently, begging her to stop him. Brylan, filled with hatred and triumph, emerged from the shadows, ready to force Cassian to kill Nesta. The crown's power shone with a cruel intensity, and Nesta realized that to save him, she would have to face something far worse than death. Chapter 74. Brylan, wearing the crown on her head, controlled Cassian, whose eyes were lifeless and unresponsive. She revealed that everything had been a plan to lure Nesta, using Emery and Gwyn as bait. Brylan wanted the trove and was sure that Nesta would summon it to save her mate. However, Nesta refused. Enraged, the queen ordered Cassian to kill her, and although he fought against the crown's power, he could not stop himself. But when Brylan commanded kill, Cassian turned the knife toward himself, preferring to die rather than harm Nesta. The horror and desperation within Nesta unleashed all the power of the cauldron, causing a cataclysm that shook the world. Amid that storm of magic, Nesta lunged at Brylan, destroying her and reducing her to dust, leaving only the crown as a witness to her annihilation. Chapter 75. After the explosion of power, Nesta ran to Cassian, fearing the worst. Turning him over, she discovered that the knife had not pierced his heart. Cassian, alive but exhausted, weakly joked about staying still while she unleashed her magic. Nesta, in tears, confessed that he was her mate, and Cassian responded with the same declaration, sealing their bond with a kiss filled with love. But their moment was interrupted when Moore and Azriel arrived with urgent news. Eris was safe, but something had happened to Fair. Nesta's joy turned to fear upon learning that her sister was in danger. Cassian and Nesta flew toward the river house, leaving behind the ruins of the battle, with the threat of an even darker fate looming over their family. Chapter 76. The river house was a place of despair. Fair was dying, bleeding out, and the baby was trapped in the birth canal. Maja warned that an incision could kill her, and although Fair insisted, they all knew the situation was dire. Rhys, clinging to his mate's hand, was on the brink of madness, unable to accept the possibility of losing her. Cassian and Azriel tried to restrain him while Maja worked with bloodied hands. When the baby was born, motionless and silent, the room filled with tears and despair. But Maja cried out in alarm as Fair's life faded away. Rhys began to scream, his pain shaking the room and making the world tremble. Cassian and Azriel knew that if Fair died, Rhys would die with her, and no force could stop the destruction that would follow. Chapter 77. With Fair and the baby dying, Nesta felt the presence of death lurking nearby. In a desperate act, she used the mask, the crown, and the harp simultaneously, unleashing an impossible power. She plucked the 26th string of the harp, stopping time. In that frozen instant, a soft voice whispered to her, offering wisdom and the chance to save her sister. Nesta, filled with love and regret, promised the cauldron to return all the power she had taken if it showed her how to save them. With tears and a whispered vow of devotion, Nesta offered her sacrifice, and the cauldron accepted. When time resumed, a golden light flowed from Nesta into Fair and the baby, restoring their lives. Rhys, witnessing the miracle, fell to his knees before Nesta, thanking her for saving his family. Fair, alive and well, whispered, "I love you," to Nesta, and the mountain of pain between them disappeared. Chapter 78. With Fair and the baby, named Nyx, safe, Nesta reunited with Gwyn and Emery, who had been transported to the river house after the rite. Both were healed, but Gwyn's anger over Nesta's decision to leave them behind still burned. However, after a tearful embrace, the three celebrated their victory as Valkyries. Meanwhile, Cassian marveled at the perfect creature he held in his arms, Nyx, but his attention soon shifted to Nesta, who took him to the garden to share the truth. She had returned almost all her power to the cauldron, but something or someone had prevented her from losing everything. Nesta also confessed that she had altered her body to ensure that no other woman would have to endure a deadly pregnancy. Finally, Cassian, with tears in his eyes, asked her what she wanted, and Nesta replied sweetly, "You." Amid laughter and promises, Nesta and Cassian sealed their fate together, with love and a future full of hope shining in their hearts. Chapter 79. Cassian was sent to the hewn city to speak with Eris 2 days after Nyx's birth. He found the Autumn Prince reading by a fire as if nothing had happened. Eris admitted that Baron knew Cassian had helped him but had mixed truths and lies to protect the Night Court's involvement. Cassian noticed signs of torture on Eris's body, who had endured the pain without betraying his secrets. However, Cassian asked why Eris had left more in the woods. Eris, evasive and hiding his pain, did not answer. Instead, he warned Cassian that Baron might ally with Cassiai and that Morrigan was in Valahan trying to prevent disaster. Before leaving, Cassian told Eris that, despite his mistakes, he was not a monster. But he added that Eris was too much of a coward to become the good male he could be. Chapter 80. With Fair and Nyx recovered, the family began taking walks. During one walk with Fair and Ellen, Nesta reflected on her upcoming mating ceremony with Cassian, which would be excessively adorned thanks to Rhys. Although the House of Wind now belonged to them, Nesta knew that the only thing that mattered was Cassian, her mate. At the end of the walk, Fair took Nyx to her father's grave to introduce him to the baby. When it was her turn, Nesta stayed behind to speak silently with him. She did not ask for forgiveness but promised to honor his sacrifice and be worthy of the love of those around her. She left a carved rose on the tombstone as a symbol of the good her father had tried to bring into the world. As she walked away, she felt Cassian's shadow over her, protecting her. With a smile, she descended the hill to join her sisters, feeling her heart, filled with love, shine like a sun. That was a court of silver flames, a story of strength, vulnerability, and love reborn from the ashes. Thank you for joining us again in Sarah J. Maas's world. If you liked this summary, subscribe, like, and share it with fellow fantasy lovers. Now tell me in the comments, do you think Cassian saved Nesta, or did she save herself?